PSLE English. Can we get a show of hands? How many of the parents here are P6 parents? Oh, okay, that's quite a number. Just to inform you, all the information that you see here are applicable to both P5 and P6 parents. So, because the thing here is, the journey to PSLE actually begins from P5 itself. This is because it takes time to build up stamina and rigor to ultimately benefit our P6s for their PSLE exam. I am Hazima, and I have been teaching for 4 years, and this is my 3rd year teaching at Writers at Work. Currently, I'm teaching P5s and P6s. Prior to joining Writers at Work, I have tutored both adults and children. This has enabled me to be versatile in my teaching and cater to students with different learning abilities. Amongst my previous batch of P6s, many have scored AL1s to AL3s and have made significant improvements in their overall English under my tutelage. I also enjoy building a rapport with my students to create an engaging classroom environment to foster confidence in their learning skills to achieve their best.
Good morning, parents. My name is Teacher Pooja, and I have been teaching the private sector for the past 6 years. This has allowed me to be exposed to a variety of students and their learning capabilities. This being my 2nd year at WOW and teaching my 2nd batch of P6 students, I am well equipped to anticipate possible challenges. Amongst my previous batch of P6, all of my students jumped by at least a grade or 2, with many scoring AL1 to AL3. Under my tutelage, my students have shown significant improvements not just in their grades but in their learning attitudes as well. I believe it is important to understand the learning needs of my students so that I can plan effective lessons to maximize their potential. Here's a brief introduction of Writers at Work. Established in 2012, WOW has been journeying with students for the past 10 years, and we have been achieving full marks for composition, writing, A1, AL1 for PSLE English, and AL1 for secondary English. To add on to our achievements, we have also recently opened 3 new branches. These are the schools in which our students both from primary and secondary have achieved full marks for their composition exams in schools. And here we see a map of our 8 branches. As mentioned earlier, we opened 3 new branches, one of which is the one that we are at right now, Tiong Bahru. The other 2 are Hougang and Bukit Batu. Moving on to a little bit more about us. So all our teachers are WOW trained, which implies that they are trained here at Writers at Work. All teachers undergo an intensive 3-month training program. Our teachers regularly review each other's lesson plans, explore current trends, share sources, and undergo weekly training to ensure the topics we cover are relevant and valuable. Our effective curriculum helps us to further help parents and students, as it is designed to allow teachers to work in collaboration with parents and students to help them master the English language, not just in their academic years but for life. Ultimately, we see the benefits in the proven results. In schools, our students have achieved full marks in their English compositions. On a national level, our students are high achievers who achieved AL1 in O-levels English. A number of our students have even shined on the international stage by winning the Queen's Commonwealth Writing Competition and the University of New South Wales Global International Competitions and Assessments for Schools. More about our curriculum.
Hi everyone, my name is Teacher Kristen. I'm from Writers at Work. I'm a senior teacher and at this point, going to put a bit of my masters to good use. So, our Writers at Work curriculum is designed to guide students to climb upwards in mastery of the English language, whether auditory, oral, or written. Our curriculum is designed around the Nation and McAllister framework. It centers on the goals of the parent, the student, and Writers at Work. For the parent, your ultimate goal is to help your child score good marks, but also to achieve communicative competence in the English language for later in life. For the child, it is to gain confidence in writing, as well as to speak and enjoy the learning experience. Meanwhile, for Writers at Work, being your child's champion, we aim to help you and your child achieve your goals. With these goals in mind, we then considered the needs, the environment, and the principles of the education landscape in Singapore. The needs would manifest in the weighted and non-weighted assessment in schools, as well as any specific learning needs your child may have. For the principles, we examine the methods of teaching and learning in Singapore, as well as MOE's priority on assessments. Next, we consider the environment. COVID-19 stories have been added to reflect more accurately the world our child currently lives in. In addition, MOE's priorities on teaching and assessments, such as their focus on holistic assessments in dropping mid-year exams this year, are also considered in order to help your child prepare for their one and only exam at the end of the year. In order to consider the next part of your child's development, we then look at the content and sequencing. The story bank and relevant themes taught to your child every week will enable them to produce content that is reflective of their current environment. Additionally, the spiral sequence of our content enables revisiting of core writing skills weekly, just with new ideation and with new writing mechanics. We then look at the format and presentation. Structured notes and learner-centered teaching is conducted weekly, along with multimedia and hands-on activities presented by each of our teachers who themselves have very unique experiences and personalities. Your child will surely find a good fit. Finally, we examine the monitoring and assessment of your child's development. We want your child to achieve their learning goals. Therefore, in-house milestone tests are conducted in class. We also include a comprehensive grading rubric to allow teachers to provide diagnostic marking and feedback on any writing done by your child. Teachers are trained in utilizing this rubric to provide result-oriented solution, as well as to help your child make significant improvements and advancement in their writing. Finally, in order to ensure that our curriculum remains relevant and effective in school, we evaluate our curriculum on a yearly basis, dropping and adding stories and content for oral and writing to reflect the current environment, such as mentioned earlier, the addition of COVID-19 stories, as well as a renewed focus on social media. This way, we ensure that our curriculum is always theoretically, pragmatically sound for our students and teachers. Therefore, let us offer you a hand at Writers at Work.
These are some of the common areas that parents struggle with. Firstly, parents have no time and do not know how to coach their children in English. It is also a common misconception that since English is spoken on a daily basis, we do not focus on English as much as compared to other subjects. Secondly, parents and students are shocked by the exponential changes in the English exam syllabus, and they do not know how to cope with the drastic drop in results. Parents also struggle to coach their children whenever they receive school writing assignments. Parents also find it challenging to come up with interesting plots to answer comprehension questions in the PSLE format. On the other hand, these are some of the key challenges for P5 and 6 students. They struggle to cope with adapting to the PSLE format of English exam papers, they are unable to create interesting story plots, or they lack the vocabulary to write compositions. They also may not know how to score well for exam composition writing assignments and exams. So thus overall, the English grade is affected. Now that we have identified the problems, this is how we can prepare students for the one and only exam in 2023, as schools have removed mid-year examinations. So, as mentioned, since schools have removed mid-year examinations, it means that the children will face only one exam, which is at the end of the year. For P5 and 6 students, they will be sitting for this exam format as seen on the screen, which is paper 1 to paper 4. So just a question, have any of you heard or received a letter from your child's schools on how the exam assessment will be like this year? Yes. It will be non-weighted and there will be specific components tested in each term. So the full format will only be tested at the end of the year. So what's the implication for this? It means that we need to prepare the children for this one and only exam so that the kids do not have a scare when they sit for a full paper. Our WOW curriculum notes is designed with this in mind to help prepare them for all the different sections and ensure exam readiness. We've also noticed that student stamina seem to have dropped after COVID-19, but at the same time, we do not compromise on the learning. We will still need to prepare our students for examinations. Thus, there is a strategic focus on certain skills in each and every one of our lessons. So here comes the most important question. How to achieve AL1 for PSLE English? I'll now hand over the time to teacher Hazima to expand on her expertise in this area.
Right, thank you, Teacher Puja. Georgia. As you can see from the table above, in order for your child to achieve an AL1, this is the tier of marks that they should be aiming for. Paper 1, composition and situational writing. So that's 40 marks for composition and 15 marks for situational writing. So your child should be aiming for at least 14 or full marks for situational writing, which is not impossible. And paired with at least 25 or 36 marks for their compo. Paper 2, booklet A and booklet B, that's 28 marks and 67 marks, making a total of 95 marks. As you have seen from our PSLE format earlier, paper 2 carries the heaviest weightage out of the 4 English papers. And this is where some students falter, depending on which sections they are weak at. Paper 3, listening comprehension, is 20 marks, and paper 4, oral reading aloud, is 10 marks, and stimulus-based conversation is 20 marks. Perhaps some parents here are familiar with the various grammar and SAT rules in paper 2. Yes, okay, great. All the same, these rules are not only applicable to just paper 2, they are imperative to a student's language mastery. The content knowledge here are skills directly applicable to compo writing. When used effectively, knowledge of these rules will definitely help students to write grammatically accurate sentences in their composition. On top of grammar and SNT rules, students are also exposed to writing mechanics and skills for question interpretation. Some sections that are applicable to the content knowledge here are vocabulary, grammar, comprehension close, and comprehension open-ended. As I have emphasized before, students need to have the content knowledge that you have seen earlier, such as grammar rules, SNT, and so on. However, without the relevant exam skills, this content knowledge will amount to nothing. So how then? To help our students excel, we train our students' stamina for PSLE, and we let them have a feel of an actual exam setting by completing the full paper within the time limit. So these are the 3 key areas that we work on to help prepare your child for their PSLE. First, we build their content knowledge by teaching and focusing on specific components in each lesson. And this is also where we learn their weaknesses and their strengths for each sections. Next, we move on to weekly practice and training. This training is to build up the skills that have been learned earlier, to build up their rigor. And finally, through revision and exam application, where we get them prepared by sitting for practice papers to have an exam feel and have an exam setting. So they have to sit within the time limit, like I've mentioned earlier, to train their stamina and to ensure exam readiness. We aim to give your child a well-rounded impression through both our English and writing program, the Write program being WOW's signature program, which focuses on composition writing. Both programs work hand in hand to elevate your child's overall English marks. The English program focuses on the paper 2 segments, including oral. Speaking of which, our WOW Holiday program also serves to provide additional support to students in the specific components that they may be weak at. We also have the P5 P6 stock, which is thematic based, and it equips students with skills to tackle their oral exams. The P5 and P6 Power Star covers the different sections to each the specific sections where they may be weak at and where students need more help. So yes, how can we help your child to score AL1 for PSLE English? Because as you have seen, every single mark matters. May I ask, are you aware of your child's exam timeline?
No.
Right, if you don't already know, their first paper, which is oral, is on 15 and 16 August, which is 3 to 4 months away, and that is not a lot of time. So yes, your child will be facing this exam on the 15th and 16th of August. So yes, there's not a lot of time to prepare. Now, how can we help? Here is a sample of a PSLE oral exam practice. We have a visual stimulus with accompanying questions as well. We teach students question analysis. Like for example here, how do I answer the questions here at the same time making use of the information from the given visual stimulus? So most students actually struggle here. Some of the common issues that my students have faced is they have no idea what to say, or they don't know how to begin, and probably because they're just too shy or not used to speaking out their ideas and verbalizing their thoughts. They also do not know how to make use of the visual stimulus. And then they tend to repeat the same type of words. For example, words like, I think this activity is nice, I think it's interesting. So they tend to have a lack of sentence or word variety because their vocabulary bank hasn't been built yet. However, have no fear. There is a way to prepare for oral exams. As you can see here, we teach your children how to do detailed analysis using the visual stimulus via the top-down method, or focusing on the big details and zooming in on the small details. We also teach them how to predict questions, for example, the level 1, which is the 5 Ws 1H, and also through the level 2, which is thematic based, where we have a few pet topics, which is part of level 4, adopting a pet topic. What do I mean by that? Right, these are some examples of the popular topics that appear in oral exams. As seen in the previous slide, your child may adopt at least 2 to 3 of these popular topics as seen here, so that they can prepare beforehand and relate it to the given stimulus. As parents, I understand you want to help your children, but how? You can help by testing your child and asking them their opinions on certain topics and maybe some of the topics that you see here. What you can do? You can prepare your own reading materials, but of course, the difficulty here is you can't give your child the Straits Times apps or papers and expect the child to read the relevant news and pick up vocabulary and apply it to the given stimulus. Because as parents, how many of you feel that you have done your due diligence the moment you give your child resources and then you just allow them to carry it on their own? How many of you are guilty of that? So yes, I understand. Parents, you are very busy and you do not have the time to give your child full attention. But yes, the ideal way is to journey through their learning process with them. But again, have no worries. At WOW, we offer you a solution. We curate the reading materials and we teach the application. We also have on-site written and verbal practices to help the child. Right, some of the oral teaching lesson activity as examples. In class, we teach our students to answer using the peel method, and we also teach them how to draw from personal experience. And usually if students say that I do not have experience in that particular activity yet, or teacher, I've never done this yet, I do not know how to answer. So the thing about oral is students are tested on their ability to communicate, right? So it doesn't matter if they have to borrow someone else's experience in order for them to answer the question. Yes, it is not exactly the truth, but students are not tested on their truth at this point of time. They're tested on their ability to communicate. Hence, yes, students may borrow ideas from friends or they may make it up, as long as they're able to communicate their ideas faithfully. What I tell my students to do when they tend to repeat the same type of questions is to build a vocabulary bank beforehand. And if they haven't done it now, they should prepare for it now, since their exams in August. So they should be looking for synonyms of words that they commonly use in their conversations. Like I've mentioned earlier, students like to say, oh, I like this is nice, this is interesting. So go to thesaurus and find synonyms of words beforehand and build their vocabulary bank. So they have survived oral, but the next hurdle is not very far. We know the oral exam is on the 15th and 16th of August, but that barely is a breather for the next exam. And your paper 1 and paper 2 exam for PSLE English is on 20th of September 2023. Yes, shocker indeed. Let's check our PSLE paper 2 worksheet. Right, here is a sample of the WOW PSLE paper 2 comprehension clues. This is one of the killer sections of paper 2. And for a P5 student, this can be very challenging because there is no fixed exam format. And especially in P4, some schools, they only set 10 questions. And at P5 and P6, the PSLE format is actually at 15 blanks. So yeah, the P5 students will really get a shock over here. So over here, students apply content knowledge and look for clues within the passage. These are important skills which we teach our students at WOW. So students who read will probably have the advantage of being exposed to more vocabulary, but that does not equate to being exam ready. The design of our notes is unique. It each blank has a clue component to it. Our teachers will teach the students how to identify the clues and make accurate inferences to obtain the answers. Annotations on the passage is discussed in class and with students' input. So even our weaker students start making connections in order to obtain the right answers. This helps make thinking visible to the child, as some students are passive readers and they do not actively think to answer the blanks in the passage. So these skills definitely will help them. Here is another killer section. This is the comprehension open-ended. Here we teach the students on passage analysis. Questions at the side of each paragraph check for students' understanding and help them make inferences to answer inferential questions. They write annotations at the side to help them understand each paragraph. And over here, common issues that students face is that they either say that they do not understand the passage or they do not understand the vocabulary because there are a lot of difficult words. So that doesn't help in their answering of the questions. We teach them question analysis as well. Question analysis is an important skill. It teaches students on how best to answer the question and what to look out for what the question is asking for. Is the question direct or is it inferential? How to answer incomplete sentences. Most students answer these questions as if they were asked the question verbally. So they tend to answer it very briefly and in a very incomplete manner. So for example, if you were to ask your student, have you done your homework? No. That's it. So that's how brief the answers are. So although passages can change, questions can change. How students apply the skills is what will help them tackle the different comprehension open-ended passages. Right, these are some grammar rules that are taught in the English program and what are being constantly discussed in our English lessons. As you can see here, there is a large amount of grammar for the students to know and understand in order for them to apply them correctly in their paper 2. They can learn this on their own, but that alone does not equate to exam preparation or exam readiness. Let us help to prepare your child for the PSLE journey with the right skills and exam application. Now, I'll pass the time over to Teacher Pooja to share her knowledge of the right program.
So these are some problems commonly faced by students. Composition is out of point, not answering the question, it's too short, lacks content, and sometimes it can be due to lack of proper time management or just lack of writing stamina. Story tends to be boring and then there's too many language mistakes. So another important question is how to overcome these problems and ultimately score full marks for PSLE composition. This is a sample of our P6 worksheet. So firstly, we start off by identifying and unpacking the composition question and ensure that every student understands the demands of the question. We also then break down the pictures into descriptive words. So this is also the format of a PSLE composition paper, and hence the pictures are in black and white. We then move on to brainstorming about an effective and interesting story plot. This is where the teacher works together with your child to build a story plot that can pull up their content marks. Even though the phrases and sentences are provided for them in the writing segment, in this section, the teacher uses guided questions such that our students feel that they are contributing to the story plot. This also helps to get their imaginative juices flowing. In this section, our teachers encourage our students to be creative and build an interesting and unique story plot, which will ultimately pull up their content marks. So this is a story plot curve, which is covered in class every lesson so that the students understand the plot thoroughly before writing. This is also so that they have a better understanding of the plot and are able to add in logical elaborations during the writing segment. The plot planning section also teaches students how to plan. It is important for students to plan their compositions before they start writing. Teachers often encourage our students to plan, but oftentimes students are clueless on how to do so, and therefore this section helps them create that habit in preparation for their composition writing exam. In this section, we also incorporate the composition question and picture or pictures used in the various paragraphs to answer the question. This ensures that our students know how to constantly and consistently relate to the theme of the question. This also ensures that they understand and are aware about how to understand the demands of the composition question. We then move on to writing mechanics. We cover different skills every lesson. So for example, we teach them how to include similes, hyperbole, and use their 5 senses in writing. By using such descriptive writing, it pulls out their language marks. Even if the student is unable to develop an interesting and unique story plot, using such descriptive language would add value to their composition and allow their language marks to skyrocket. Now, after equipping the students with content and language knowledge, the kids then start putting that knowledge to use in the writing segment. There is a strict time limit in which the students need to complete their writing by. This helps them to build up their writing stamina and also to plan their time wisely. There are different formats in our curriculum. We have independent writing and guided writing. Independent writing would be when the kids write out the entire composition, and guided writing is where they will write out selected paragraphs. The aim here is to provide students with a vocabulary bank and how they can write out complex sentences. As parents, I'm sure you want to know how to help your child in terms of writing. The best practice for students to achieve AL1 is to firstly be able to write out an AL1 composition. So this is exactly what we provide to students with every lesson. As such, the students are able to understand the demands of an AL1 composition and will therefore be more likely to replicate such a standard. This is how we advocate modeling. In essence, in order to be able to produce AL1, you will need to be able to write it out by yourself first. However, if you're not able to write it out, you will not be able to understand what requires of you in order to achieve that particular grade. So if you're trying to help your child, you will first need to produce an AL1 composition and teach them how to write it. However, we understand the stress and demands of being a parent, which is why we are here to provide your child with the resources they need to achieve AL1. These are examples of independent writing. Even though the phrases and sentences are provided for them, the students are always encouraged to add in their own phrases and sentences to add value to the plot. This is also when teachers are able to track students' progress and whether or not they have been revising their notes from the previous lessons. We also provide the students the model composition every week. This is part of the post-lesson learning. Parents will also be able to play a part in the post-lesson learning by getting your kids to highlight and annotate on the model compositions. They can highlight the skills used, such as personification and foreshadowing. The students will also be able to learn and understand the sentence structure used and the elaborations given. They can then incorporate this to their school compositions, which will help them in achieving their full marks. This will help to also solidify what the kids have been taught during lessons. For students that struggle with content, while teachers use the big picture and media resources to guide students to brainstorm and develop the story plot. In order to improve their language and build up stamina, students are taught writing mechanics and are given materials every week such as the model composition, which are to be used for their post-lesson learning. As such, yes, it is definitely possible to score full marks for PSLE composition exam, and here are some of our students who have achieved it. So this student is from CHIJ, Our Lady Queen of Peace. This student is from Nanhua Primary. This was a prelim exam paper. Next one is from Raffles Girls. So that concludes our presentation on our WOW curriculum. But before we go, we want to assure you that we are your child's best champion, and we will work hand in hand with you and your child to strive towards achieving AL1 for PSLE English. Lastly, it takes a village to raise a child, and we are a part of that village. Now we're going to take some questions, after which we will explain more about our ongoing promotions.